Hello there, and welcome back to part 3 of the What If series. Or the What If the Story Continued, the What If series. And yeah, I know I've been gone for a little bit with this series, and I meant to be back earlier, just I got caught up with the world, and so I kind of slowed down a bit, but we are back better than ever. I'm taking a whole day just to record both parts 3 and 4, as well as the chapters of a new series focusing on an OG character of my own creation and the beginning of his story, which I really hope y'all check that out. I'll put a link in the description for anyone who's interested in what I can do when I have just an OG cast of characters that have never been introduced before, if you want to meet them. But yes, we are continuing with this story. There's still a lot to unpack, because the original story is about what if Vader and Starkiller ruled the galaxy. Vader and Starkiller are both still missing. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a little bit more about that. Maybe we'll see what Luke is up to with his mysterious creature. And we'll see if Jaina can rescue Han and Chewie from the Dark Lord of the Sith's wrath. Also, what's Thrawn been up to? Yeah, you're about to see. So, stay tuned, everybody. Let's get this story on with. We open with Jaina as she stares down Luke and Kip, with her father Han, who collapsed to the ground following his rescue. Her training saber is held in front of her chest, while Kip wields his crimson-bladed lightsaber. Luke simply stands with his arms folded peacefully, his face still holding his wicked grin upon it. There is a sinister silence among everyone, as nobody knows just how to react to the current situation. Luke finally steps forward, his hands clasped behind his back, as he steps with zero fear, standing only a foot away from his niece, who wields her training saber straight to his head. With a sudden movement, he pulls one of his hands out, ripping the training blade from Jaina's hand into his own, as he overlooks the weapon with a pitiful smirk. "This is what she gave you?" With a tightening grip, he snaps the metal blade in two. "Nonsense. Apprentice, give her your weapon." Kip looks surprised, but quickly holds his hilt out as Jaina yanks the weapon away and swings at Luke, who dodges the attack with ease by simply twisting his body to the side. Jaina gives another swing, but to no success. Luke simply dodging each attack before ending the brief confrontation with a light force push. "If you're trying to impress me with these Jedi skills, I suggest you start doing better," he taunts. He looks at Han with a grin. "Here, I'll get you motivated." He fires out a powerful bolt of force lightning against Han, who screams in agony as Jaina charges Luke with a vicious barrage of attacks. None land against the Dark Lord, as Luke unleashes another bolt of lightning against Han. Finally, after Jaina delivers another flurry of attacks, does Luke finally draw his own Crimson Blade. Not because he necessarily needs to, but because he's not getting enough fun out of the whole ordeal just yet. Luke brings his own offense, launching several one-handed power blows that knock Jaina to the ground in moments. He gives his niece a mocking grin and taunts her again. "Either you are the laziest student of the Force I've ever seen, or your master is the biggest slacker in the galaxy." He fires another bolt of lightning at Han as Jaina forces herself to her feet and attacks again. With each time she's defeated and Han is tortured even more, she gets angrier and angrier, and Luke only gets more and more excited and cheerful over these circumstances. Jaina's attacks continue to get more and more aggressive until she goes from being completely stomped by her mentally insane Sith uncle to actually standing her ground for a few moments, even though Luke isn't really trying. Finally, Luke gets bored of the whole ordeal and pushes Jaina away with a powerful force blast, yanking the lightsaber from her hands and returning it to Kip. "Do you see how much progress you've made in one day compared to the years of training back home? This is where you truly belong in the galaxy. You're out of your damn mind, Jaina shouts as she grabs her father and begins to run away. Kip goes to pursue, but Luke stops him. Not yet. I want to see how everything plays out. You're truly sure that everything is going to go exactly as you predicted, Master? Kip asks. Luke returns a look that is almost offended by his apprentice's questioning. Did I not already predict you capturing Solo in the first place, and his young child coming to rescue? The Force's visions provide me a look at glimpses of infinite possibilities that the Force wills into existence. This is the path that I see, and the one I know is meant for me. You said you didn't know which of his children would come to his rescue, though, Kip countered. Luke nodded calmly. You are correct. It could have been any of them. It just happened to be the daughter. But destiny will still play out as it does. It always will. We cut back to Kashyyyk as we see Anakin Solo packing his things as he prepares for his trip to Nar Shaddaa. We see that while he is trying to keep himself calm, he is quite concerned for both his father and sister. There is a knock at his door as a blonde-haired female who looks to be around Anakin's age walks in. Tahiri Vela places a hand on Anakin's shoulder and gives him a warm smile as he looks up to see her. You're sure you don't want my help on this one? Yes, I'm sure. This is a family matter. Anakin reassures her with a sweet smile. Tahiri nods, and we get some sweet but also kind of awkward tension between the two as Anakin finishes packing his things. Take good care of Master Tano till we get back. Something tells me that old lady can take care of herself, Tahiri remarked. Anakin nods in agreement. Yeah, but just do so anyway, please. The two share a smile as Anakin begins to exit the room before he quickly turns around too. Tahiri, take care of yourself too. Tahiri smiles and nods as Anakin exits the room. We cut to Jacen Solo, who is clearly upset about something, but focuses on his meditation. That is when Ahsoka enters the room, and Jacen rises to meet her gaze. This situation troubles you. Jacen nods. Initially, he is hesitant to speak his mind with the older master, but ultimately gives in to his rant. None of this would have happened if we had been able to keep order, if we hadn't tampered with the Empire's bases. What do you mean by that? Ahsoka asks as she folds her arms. Jacen takes a deep breath before explaining. We sent my father and my siblings to go after that space station. Nobody on that station had been doing anything wrong, and we just invaded it. If we had just allowed the Empire to do its work and focus on bigger and better things, then Dad and Jaina would not be kidnapped. Ahsoka seems a little concerned by the words of Jacen. She sighs, trying to reason with him and find the proper ways to explain her point of view. We would focus on the bigger and better things, but we cannot. Not with Thrawn's tyrannical rule. That's why we need to keep fighting. Maybe Thrawn needs to go, but that doesn't mean we need to obliterate the entire Empire. Once it falls, there will be a massive power grab and everything will fall back into chaos. We need the Empire's stability to survive. Ahsoka takes a long moment to think on Jacen's words, before she is pulled from her thoughts by Jacen's following question. Do you think I'm going to become a Sith just because I believe in the Empire's ideals? Clearly the Sith and Empire have evolved from each other, since they're on opposing sides. Maybe the Jedi need to evolve too. A balance between love and compassion, along with order and control, might be what we need. The last time the Jedi served a tyrannical government, they were all betrayed and murdered by them. Believe me, I know. I was there. Ahsoka finally loses her cool for just a moment before pulling herself back together. I'm not accusing you of being a Sith just for thinking differently to me. We're all people as much as we are Force wielders. What I'm worried about is that perhaps this one-minded thought process could lead to obsession over order and control until tyranny is reached. Perhaps your next mission will provide you more answers. Jacen nods and exits the room. Suddenly, He gives a deep sigh and turns to face Ahsoka. Thank you, Ahsoka. You're pretty much family to us. Ahsoka smiles and gives Jacen a warm nod as he leaves, although once Jacen leaves, her face becomes much more concerned. We cut to Jaina as she's now back on the stolen shuttle along with her seriously injured father who lays on the floor in pain. She checks Han to see if he has any fatal wounds, although to her relief, he's only mildly burned. She tries to mend the wounds, although Han stops her. This was a bad idea, he groans. You shouldn't have come for me. We have to get you help, Jaina argues. Han shakes his head in frustration. We can't go back home. He's going to be after us. And where do you suggest if not home? Jaina asks with a tint of frustration in her tone. If anyone can kill him, it's Mom. And we don't know that exactly for sure. That's a huge risk we're putting on everyone there. We need to find a backwater world to lay low, rest, and survive for a bit, until we can get some backup. Jaina sighs as she moves into the cockpit, checking the Navi computer as she searches for some world. This can literally be any world, but for the sake of the story, I'm going to say Bogano. I don't know how they add up from the hyperspace lanes from Sidious to Bogano, but we're going with it, so Bogano. We cut to Bogano, where Jaina lowers the ship and proceeds to send out a distress signal to anyone who could be reading. She knows Luke is coming for her, so it doesn't really matter if his forces are here. They'll find her eventually. She sees the Bogano temple not too far away and begins to help her father to his feet as she carries him towards the temple for rest. That is when she hears the roar of a ship, and the Knife 9 enters the atmosphere and lands next to Jaina's shuttle. The Knights of Ren all exit with their weapons drawn as they pace around Jaina as she steps in front of her father. She may not carry a weapon on her, but she carries no fear. She won't back down. Vikril, the second in command of the Knights, second only to Luke himself, speaks. Jedi Solo, you've been requested by the Great Master. Please join us peacefully. Not on your lives, you criffing madmen, Jaina exclaims. Vikril sighs and prepares an offensive stance. Unfortunately for you, the Great Master refuses any denial. Vikril lunges at Jaina, who dodges, and uses the Force to push him aside. Jaina spins around and charges the Knight of Ren, who attempts to sneak behind her, as she knocks him out with a flurry of punches and takes his vibro axe. She spins around and deflects another attack from Vikril before delivering another strike of her own. Vikril dodges, and the other knights begin to move in and overwhelm Jaina as she is sent falling back. She's a capable fighter, but still quite young and inexperienced, especially in comparison to the group of the Knights of Ren, who, unlike in canon, have been brutally trained to near perfection by Luke's sadistic methods. Jaina is sent to her knees and is about to be struck down before a wave of energy blasts all the knights away. Jaina gets to her feet, and even Han looks up to see what happened. The knights all prepare themselves as a figure wearing a cloak leaps into the fray, wielding 2 sapphire blades and a reverse grip. The figure deflects all of the knights' incoming attacks in one singularly wide sweep before 2 knights are sent into a tree by another wave of power. Vikril is able to launch several attacks of his own, which the figure deflects. However, he stands very little chance of surviving this encounter on his own, and the other knights being separated doesn't help him in the slightest. Ultimately, Vikril makes the decision to retreat with the other knights, as they board the Knife 9 and take off. The cloaked figure watches the ship take off before raising out their palm, and with a jolt of power, pulls the ship back down to the surface. With a great deal of effort, the ship is pulled down to the surface, and the knights are all disarmed of their weapons and injured, before Vikril finds himself met with 2 sapphire blades at his throat, and he ultimately surrenders, ordering his knights to do the same. Jaina cautiously approaches the cloaked figure, as they deactivate their 2 weapons, and remove their hood, as we see the face of a much older Galen Merrick, with a beard and longer hair. Jaina lowers her guard as the figure approaches her. You're all right, correct? Yeah, I think so. My father could use some medical attention. Then we will make sure to work on that. You're Master Merrick, right? My mother spoke of you a lot when I was a kid. The person who looks like Galen shakes his head. Not exactly. Let's just get things settled, and then we can discuss things. For now, we have to get to the temple. And that is where this part ends. Alright, there's so much more happening now. We got two solo children who are being chased by the dark side. One of the Starkillers is back, but whether it's Galen or perhaps a clone, you just gotta wait for part 4. Although I think part 4, I think the ending made it a little clear which one it was. But hey, who knows? But yeah, this is Dimen360 signing off, and I can't wait to bring part 4 to you. See you guys. Stay tuned.